Where do you live? What are you doing here? Get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts getting brolic with him. He starts screaming. The guy says something to his wife. The black guy says something to his wife. So then he sort of pushes him. He says, listen, I'm about to show you what I can do. Get out of here.
Yeah.
He went after him, put his hands on him. You can't do that. Right? That's against the law. You get assault for that, sir.
Why do these niggas exist?
No, I don't hide you now. Come on out. We just want to talk. What's up?
Man, you gonna jump you?
A lot of people, listen, I don't care. You could have had 6.
Welcome to the Any Last Words pod. My name is Keon, a.k.a. Almighty the DJ.
And my name is Earl Lonnie Hooks, a.k.a. Young One with Himself. A special thanks to everybody out there joining us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, as well as YouTube. The God in me honors the God in each and every one of you. I would like to start off with our sponsor of the day. This episode is brought to us by Courage. Courage. Noun. The quality of mind or spirit that enables a person to face difficulty, danger, pain, etc. without fear. Bravery.
Okay.
Courage. I want to talk about this. I'll start it with, well, before I start it, hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
Let's see you start with that.
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Is there anything at all that we want to get out of the way that you have experienced this last week that you want anybody to know about before I get in? Because it's going to be one of those bear with me moments where I'm gonna take us on a little ride.
Not necessarily.
No. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Courage. So I was listening recently to a podcast with the guy that I speak of, the guy whose book I have right now, Jordan B. Peterson. I speak about him all the time. Clinical psychologist, intellect, critical thinker of the Western world now.
I noticed you put somebody else on to Mr. Peterson here.
Did I? I mean, I know I put it all over the story. All over our
somebody
Instagram
else put it on their story as well.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. I mean, it's definitely interesting. We're gonna have to talk about who that is because now I'm intrigued.
Okay.
Anywho, I'm listening to his podcast and he has an ex-Navy SEAL, Jocko Willick. Ever heard of this gentleman?
Mm-hmm.
Ex-Navy SEAL, entrepreneur, author, leadership consultant. He's a lot of things. Very intense sort of guy.
Okay.
Built like a truck. One of those sort of guys.
One of them brolic niggas.
Yeah, very brolic. And Jordan B. Peterson is talking to this gentleman about his deployments in the past and how he has wrestled with the ethics behind being a military person.
Okay.
And I find that one to just be a very interesting topic. It could be a cringe topic because you could imagine when speaking to someone that's had multiple deployments and they've gone to war, actual war, and they've seen very close people to them die in front of them at the hands of their adversaries.
When you say go to war, do you mean the people that simply ship out or the ones that are on the front line shooting?
I'm talking about the ones putting knives in people's throats, shooting, having to kill women and children in order to complete the task at hand.
Got you.
And it's very interesting because that's why I know, one, that's just not for me, because I can't imagine having to kill women and children in order to get the mission done. Right. So these are sort of the questions that Jordan B. Peterson is asking him. How do you wrestle with that ethically? When you go over there, how do you know you're the good guys? How do you know you're doing the right thing and that you're fighting for the right cause? And as you might expect, when
That's
you
a hell of a question.
It is a
How
question.
do you know you're the good guy? That's a hell of a question.
That's a hell of a question, especially now you've been taking your ethics class. I'm certain that this sort of thing.
I'm interested in hearing what you have to talk about so I can try to apply it to some of what I've learned.
So, as you would imagine, it gets a little intense, the conversation.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily feel attacked, but now in his mind, I could only imagine the montage of images that he's having in his mind because he speaks on going to some of Osama bin Laden's hideouts and finding these chambers with hooks from the ceiling and blood dripping from them and the drains underneath where they would drain the blood. And he's saying, when you see things like this, I'm okay with being there. I say, yeah, I'm okay with putting an end to this. Whatever has to happen, I'm okay. Things that people have to understand is that when you're going to war, you have to have a firm understanding of two things. You have to have the will to kill, period. You have to understand that you can try your best to mitigate the collateral damage. The women and children, the civilians, people have nothing to do with what's going on. But you have to have the will to kill, period. There's no room for anything else.
Yeah, it's a kill or be killed type of situation.
And that brings us to the second point is you have to be willing to die. You have to go into every battle thinking, yeah, this could very well be it. Like, I'm going in here for the sake of the mission, for the sake of what I'm fighting for, which would be the flag, for the people, the freedoms, the liberties. But I'm ready to die right here and right now. And that's a very strong thought to have in your mind when you're going out to do your duty. This is what it is you do. This is your vocation. And you walk out every day thinking, yeah, you could very well be thinking, I died today. Not I could, but today's the day I die. And I do it. Woo. And I do it for what I believe in.
In the name of America.
It's a very interesting mindset that you have to place yourself in. So I'm listening to this guy talk about this. And Dr. Peterson said to him, so has there ever been a time where you were deployed and you felt as though this ain't it? This isn't what we're supposed to be doing. This is the wrong move.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you know what? There was one time when I felt that way. And you'll see one of the reasons why I decided to bring this story up. He said we were sitting off the coast of Africa on a naval ship one day. And right in Africa, the Hutus were slaughtering the Tutsis.
Wow.
Chopping them, slicing them together, women, whatever, killing everybody, slaughtering hundreds of thousands of people with machetes. And we never got the call to intervene. We never received the call to intervene. That's the time that I felt like what we were doing was wrong, was the inaction.
Yeah.
And he said, what could we have stopped if we just got the call, if we got the go ahead, the green light to go in there and act and do something about this? But we never got it. So we sat on that ship as all these people were slaughtered. And I thought that was extremely strong. And, so I took pause and I paused and I sat there and thought about it. And I had some other things percolating in my mind about relationships. And the two conjoined. There was a nexus, you would call it. And I started thinking about our little wars that we have as human beings, our little battlefields within our relationships as people, and what the inactive nature that a lot of us take on inside these relationships what they will procreate, what they will beget for us. And just like I believe he feels regret, and a lot of people that were on that Navy ship with him, that naval ship with him, feel regret for not getting the go ahead and not doing something, not intervening, not stopping this heinous crime. I feel as though people in relationships in which they do not act on what they know to be right or know to be true can down the road feel that same sort of regret.
Yeah.
So I bring this into conversation because I've been having many, many conversations with my lady friend that you know.
Mm. Would you consider that just like a survivor's remorse? Or
a survivor's remorse?
Hold on,
like survivor's guilt?
Yes,
in a sense?
yes.
Yeah, I mean,
survivor's guilt. That's what I meant to say.
Maybe they weren't necessarily in the heart of it. I think the way that we usually look at that would be somebody like one of the Tutsis that were there. Okay. And maybe everyone in their village got slaughtered, but somehow they did something for themselves and they survived.
Okay.
Then they come out of it and look around and see everybody that they've ever loved slaughtered. Mm-hmm. And they think, oh, wow.
Okay.
Like, I didn't help. I didn't.
Well, that's why
I should have died with them.
That's why I'm asking you that, because he feels like they should have done something about it. They should have helped. They weren't necessarily, he wasn't necessarily in the action, but he knew that it was happening and he knew that they were in a position to do something about it. But they didn't get the call, which wasn't up to him. But I still kind of see that as kind of a survivor.
No, I could definitely see that. Yeah, that could be a form.
You're so close, like you're there. You're
right.
not you're not over in DC somewhere.
Right, exactly.
You're right off the coast of Africa.
Right. Had you performed differently, things could have been different. Right, for sure. No, I could definitely see that being a more I'm not gonna say detached version. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being the case. Yeah, for sure. So it's like once removed.
Yeah.
Sort of, version of it. So we've been having a lot of conversations, this lady friend and I. And in a lot of them, there have been a lot of moments where there is possible contention arising.
Okay.
And I think I told you that I would never choose to be in a relationship with someone, regardless of the format of the relationship, right? It could be a friend, whatever, family member, romantic partner, in which we can't speak about things that we feel uncomfortable about for the sake of the other person feeling bad in a moment's time.
Okay.
Because I'm a firm believer that certain moments, like a lot of things, have to be sacrificed in order to gain happiness and vulnerability and comfort and security and beauty and progress and growth in further future moments. Okay. So many, many conversations recently where things have gone awry in the conversation. Maybe she's saying something, I don't understand what she's talking about. I question her on it, vice versa. And I'm thinking about 3 things that I've come up with that are integral. They're imperative in order to have these sorts of healthy conversations within relationships. And the reason I talk about this is because, one, it takes courage. And I think that a lot of people are not having this, and I feel like this is something that we have to talk about.
Okay.
And one of them I'm really gonna hone into. So one being the will to speak to your significant other about whatever it is that's bothering you at the moment. The will to do it. You have to want and have the desire and the courage to bring yourself to open your mouth to this other person. If you truly care for them, you care for yourself, your own well-being, their well-being, and the well-being of the relationship as a whole. If you truly do, this is something that just has to happen. Next, the clear-headedness to know exactly, to be able to see and detect exactly what it is you're upset about. And then thirdly, having the skill or the tact to articulate these things in a way that isn't going to destroy everything in front of you.
Yeah.
And all these things are very, very important.
Yes.
But we got to get back to just the first point, which is the will to do it. I think that it's something that isn't practiced so often because it is something to pick and choose your battles. I hear too often, though, Big Smokey J's one of them. Hey, man, if you want some good advice, from me, listen, just don't even do it. Don't even just let her go do her thing. Let her think about whatever she needs to think about. Let her just say, okay, babe, you got it. You got it, babe. That's fine. You got it. The problem with that to me is a few things. Is one, if you're the person that is doing that part, let me just concede defeat, relinquish all of my power here and just let you do whatever the fuck it is you want to do or think whatever it is you want to think. Firstly, you're not challenging that person, so they're not being challenged cognitively. They're remaining stagnant in their mental processes because you are not challenging them. You're not helping them grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but what the fuck is the point of being with someone if you all are not going to help each other grow? So that's one thing. Two, in this, again, let's keep an open mind. I'm talking about relationships here. It can be romantic, and I'm sure that people listening, this will resonate with them on different levels. They'll think of different sorts of relationships that they have with people. But two, it's easily fathomable that the person that has had to shut their mouth and not say anything about what is bothering them is going to start growing more contempt for the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other person keeps shutting them down and they won't allow them to voice themselves in a safe space.
Okay.
Security. So I think that through time, you'll never truly be happy if you're being this beta being in the relationship. You'll never truly be happy because you know that you can't voice yourself the way that you want to. You know you can't question whatever this person has going on. If they snap at you or something's not going right or you don't feel good about it, you don't feel fulfilled, but you know that this is a point of contention in which they're not ready to explore, and they feel as though you're just being a nuisance to them. You're being a burden. You're being a diva. You're being a bitch. You're being a dick. However you want to put it. We don't need to have this conversation. I don't want to have this conversation with you. It's this, and that's what it is. Period. Stop talking to me about it. You're gonna grow contempt for that person, and through time, you'll never truly be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just going to grow. It's just going to be a smoldering hate you get for someone. And then that's when eventually, and you hear it all the time, it's a ticking time bomb. Shit explodes at some point in time because something happens and tips the person over the edge because everyone has their tipping point. And then what happens then is both people are looking at each other thinking, I don't even know who you are.
How did we get here?
How did we get here? And I feel like I'm looking at someone that I don't know. What are you talking about? Where did this come from? What are you even talking to me about?
Mm-hmm.
And the other person's thinking like, well, actually, this is who I am. Actually, I know we've been together for, 10 plus years, but I'm so glad I can say this now. Like, you just pissed me off just to the point enough where I can actually be who I am. I actually haven't fucked with this thing that you've been doing for these past 10 years, but this is how I feel about this. And you're looking at this person like, how could you have just not said anything this whole time?
Right.
What is going on?
Right.
And hopefully if that person has any sort of interpersonal skills or intrapersonal skills, they'll think, what did I do that didn't allow you to feel comfortable enough to say these things 10 years ago?
Right.
Right. And nip this in the bud. Now, That's just from one person's perspective, the person that's being the beta male or the beta person, beta being, because this can go either way. But also keep in mind that both people can be both of these people.
Mm-hmm.
Both people can be the person that is shutting the other person down and shunning them every time they want to say something or get something off their chest. And you can also be the person that doesn't feel comfortable talking to the other person, right? Because that can very well be the case, which is very interesting. In that case, you really need to leave each other because you're not the whole function of a unit. And Jocko Willink, the ex-Navy SEAL, talked about this too. The whole function of a unit is to be backing the other person up and to be making sure that it's like you both sharpen each other. That's what it is. You're both good on your own, but together as a unit, you complement each other in such a way that you both get stronger the longer you stay together and work with each other. So it's a very interesting thing, but I think it's extremely rare. The other person now, or the other idea would be the person that is doing the shunning. You'll never truly be happy because you're with someone that you do not fully respect.
Mm.
And that's why a lot of people, if they find themselves in a position in which they're dating someone like this, that is being a pushover, and they can have their way with them and say whatever they like to them, end up cheating on them with someone that they can't do that with because they respect the person that they're cheating with.
Mm.
So that person will never be happy because they know that they can master this person. They can master and completely control and subjugate this person that they share a relationship with. And even though that may be convenient, it's not desirable. That's not a desirable trait to be able for you to look at your significant other as though they are a doormat. That's not desirable. Nobody really wants that. What they really want is someone they can respect, someone that's going to keep them in check and be cooperative with them. And maybe those people intimidate them. Those people may intimidate them.
Mm-hmm.
So then they instead settle for someone that they can master. But again, you will not be happy with that person because you do not fully respect them. And so I say all this to say, we need to muster up courage within ourselves in order to go and have these conversations, because just like Jocko Willink sitting on that ship as the Hutus slaughtered the Tutsis, the inactivity that's what's going to be your regret. That's what's going to cause the destruction down the road. And I know it because I know so many people in relationships like this. You have to speak. You have to speak up. When I'm talking to this lady friend of mine I'm telling you about, we couldn't imagine it being another way. I just wouldn't do it. I couldn't imagine if she is upset or I'm upset with something or something's not making sense in conversation, you feel like someone's being unreasonable or illogical or too emotional or whatever, we call it out immediately. Hey, I didn't like the way you did that. I didn't like the way you just spoke to me right now. I don't think that what you're saying makes sense. And this is why I don't think what you're saying makes sense. Does that make sense? These sort of questions have to be had. And every 100% of this, it's a 100% success rate, because 100% of the time after the conversation's done, we feel great. We feel so empowered by the will that we had to have the conversation,
mm-hmm.
the clear-headedness that it took to be able to discern exactly what the issue was and pointedly address those things, in the skill that we have at being able to do it without calling each other names, calling people outside their names, being pejorative whatever it is, we know we've found out and we've sort of created a groove, and we know how to do it. And, you know, you practice something, you get better at it.
Yeah.
So we feel extremely happy about it every single time. We have laughs about it afterwards, about how it went down, because it's such a roller coaster, because it starts with uncertainty and bashfulness because you don't really want to do it. Then you get to a point where you're kind of understanding. Maybe you get annoyed somewhere in the conversation. Maybe you get angry somewhere in the conversation. Maybe someone sheds a tear or something because you hit a soft spot. Because, again, when I talk about highly contentious conversations, I'm talking about those sort of conversations where someone's coming to you and saying, this friend or family member of mine, they just keep yapping on, or they keep treating me this way, or they're the problem, where most people feel like it is their duty to back them up and say, you know what, you're right. Fuck them. What is wrong with them? Why would they do that? You're right. You know what? They should really see things this way. Instead, being like, I don't know. Like, what is your part to play in this? I don't know. I know you have this long-standing bout with this person in your life, but how are you playing a part in this? And you're just like, what are you talking? Why would you say that? Well, let me tell you why I would say this. Because I ultimately want you to get better. And if you're because one, if you stay in this position, you're just going to be groveling for I don't know how long. You're going to be in a dismal place for a long point in time. And if you're a part of this unit, you're taking the unit's morale down. Mm-hmm. And I'm a part of this unit, and I don't want my morale brought down. So helping you helps me. Mm-hmm. And you have to have those sorts of conversations. And they're so enlightening. They're so liberating. And again, I'll say this lastly on this bit is you have to be willing to sacrifice the comfort and happiness of one moment in order to unlock the capabilities of the happiness and comfort and security of the future moments. It is best for you in the long run. Mm-hmm. We live in a day and age now where I believe we hear a whole lot about instant gratification. People are heavy into instant gratification. It's best to set that to the side and don't be so impulsive so that you can get the bigger payout later on. And like I said, even instant gratification is funny, and bigger payout later on is interesting because you can just have a really good open conversation with someone, and then 30 minutes afterwards, it's good. So sometimes you don't even have to hold out for that long. Mm-hmm. You just have to muster up some courage and open your mouth. And and I'm only ever talking about if you're trying to have a long-lasting relationship with someone. If you're just trying to mess around with somebody for 2 months, then none of this stuff I'm talking about matters. Except for you might want to just be working on these things so that you can build these skills for the person that you're going to eventually want to have a long-lasting relationship with. Mm-hmm. So no, I guess it does matter to everybody. So that's pretty much what I got on that. I thought a lot about this.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who, is self-proclaimed non-confrontationist.
Yes, indeed you are these things.
No, that definitely hits home because I know I've been in plenty of relationships, romantic and not romantic, in which I know that I've let people take my kindness for weakness. Mm-hmm. Because I'm a very kind person. Yeah. And I try to be that way no matter what. So I've definitely been down that road plenty of times. And it's something that I've had to just work better. I mean, just work to better myself and to really not be that way. Cause sometimes you just gotta stand up for, what you know and stand up for yourself. Mm-hmm. So I've been down that road, and all of what you just said, just hits a piece of me. It makes me think about certain people and certain situations that I've been in. And sometimes it just takes time to kind of grow out of that, that person. But yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. It definitely, it takes time, and it takes effort. Like I said, it takes the will.
And it takes courage.
It takes courage.
It takes courage to convince yourself that, what you have to say is worth something and should be said.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah, it's interesting because you said, well, so this is what you said makes me think of. You saying finding the courage to feel as though what you have to say means something. It has some sort of value. Mm. And that's an interesting idea. If you're in a relationship with someone and they have done something that you feel like is wrong or it's insensitive or inconsiderate to some degree, or it's just unreasonable, and you don't understand why they did that or what's going on. So this is the issue I kind of have what you said. I don't think it's necessarily about finding courage in what you think or finding value in the message that you're trying to get across, because it's not always about trying to get a message across. It's sometimes you just want to ask. Sometimes you want to understand, and that's really what communication should be built on. That should really be the infrastructure. That should be the shared objective between both conversational partners.
Come to an understanding.
What the fuck are you talking about? I don't know why you did this. I don't know why you feel this way. I don't know why you snapped. I don't know why you whatever. I don't necessarily have a message I want to get across to you and make you feel like you need to now conform to this thing. That could be the case. Maybe we need to find compromise in this, but I just need to know why. And sometimes people can shut that down on some. I mean, it's not you growing up as a black boy had your parents be like, because I said so. What are you talking about? What are you? Don't ask me why I decided to make, because you in my house and you're going to do what I say, period.
Right.
And that sort of thing never made sense to me. So even as I grow, I look for the why. You just did this. Tell me why. Why do I have to explain myself to you? Okay, well, we could just not be together. What do you mean? I want to know how you work. Mm-hmm. I want to know how your mind processes things, because if I don't know that, how in the world am I supposed to be in a relationship with you? Mm. What's interesting is I just had a conversation with someone, and they were telling me, and I'm not meaning to take this into a political realm, but this fits, is I know some people that are having an issue in their marriage.
They said this, or
well, I heard this from another party, but that party is close enough to them. They heard it from them.
Okay.
So these people are having a problem in their marriage, and one of them voted and believes in Donald Trump. Mm. One of them is an Asian man and does not. So not to say that you can be Asian and not vote for Donald Trump, but I just like to put that in there just for context. The person that voted for Donald Trump is a white woman, and this is an Asian man she's married to, been married for many years. And we don't really have to get deep into this, but she is of the belief that the insurrection at the Capitol did not actually take place, that it's sort of like the moon landing, and that it was staged and shot somewhere and then broadcasted through mainstream media to make certain people look worse than they actually are. Very interesting take. I know. We'll save that for another time. We'll think about that, talk about that. I thought that was very, very interesting. Very interesting take.
Yes.
But the issue is they're in the household now and they're calling each other names. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. And what shocked me is that it got bad with the presidency of Donald Trump. And in my mind, I went way outside of politics when I heard about this. I said, it started there? They've been married mad years prior to that. How in the world did this person, the Asian man in question right now, not see that this person could have erupted?
Right.
And I thought that was interesting, like because
those views had to come out somewhere at some point
in another aspect of their life.
Yeah.
That is, we're talking about a certain type of mental processes.
Right.
And that doesn't have to do with politics. We're talking about a way that someone processes information.
Is she just a conspiracy theorist, or?
No, because it's not just about her disbelief in the fact that the insurrection on January 6th took place. They argue about everything political. And so I'm just wondering, if that's the case, how did you not see that there was going to be discordance in just mental processes way early on, during the courting stages?
Right.
You guys hanging out, going on dates, making yourselves exclusive, like the first 2 years. Like, I'm trying to figure out why people don't know who they're dating. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Well, why don't you know who you're dating? Because I assume that there should have been many, many, many points in the relationship where if I were him or if I were her, would have sat back and looked at the other one and thought, wow, like, this is really the way you process things, huh?
Yeah.
Like, this is the way that you, okay. Like, you felt like we should put the couch there and not there. Like, why would you put the couch? Why would we want to put the couch there? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Some of your insanity should have been shown at some point.
That's the point I'm trying to get at. Like, why would you think that this is okay? Like, why would you want to put our daughter in this school versus that? Like,
or do you think that it was just always there, but maybe it got heightened, like a lot of things after Trump came into office?
That could have. So what exactly was heightened?
I don't know.
The detection of it, or
because the I guess her more so voicing, or was that always happening? You know what I'm saying? Like, actually, because like after he came into presidency, a lot of people that shared his views, I feel like, kind of saw the green light and was like, oh, well, since he's putting it on a platform, makes me feel better about me saying what I need to say.
Right.
Or displaying it a little bit more than I usually would.
Okay.
You know, I didn't feel comfortable in those first couple of years with, her Asian husband.
Yeah.
But now that, Donald Trump has kind of put this battery in my back.
He's given me a place to feel comfortable. He's given me a space.
Yeah.
Right. That encourages this sort of speak. I understand what you're saying. And I feel like that could very well be the case. My whole point is that I feel like there were multitudinous moments beforehand that wouldn't have had to do with anything politically or socially necessarily.
I still get that.
Right. In which I would have seen that there was an extreme bug in the mental processes in her hard drive.
I don't know. Maybe he wasn't really that intuitive. Maybe he
but I think that's sort of the thing is, are we paying attention to the people we're around?
Right.
Are we truly paying attention?
You would expect for someone that you're just spending so much time with that you would have picked up on something.
Yeah, that's sort of the point. So I find it really interesting. Now, again, I haven't been with someone for a very long time. I haven't been married. I haven't had children with anyone. I don't know these things, but it still strikes me as quite inattentive. It does. It does. So that's my point on that.
Yeah, I mean, after several years of marriage, you'd like to think that you know this person inside and out.
You would like to think so,
yeah.
I guess. And we have too many instances where people are like, I don't know who that is. I don't know who I was dating, why I ever thought that was going to be a good thing. Things are so interesting because hindsight is 2020.
Do you think it's possible for those people to just simply evolve?
Yes, I do. Why don't I know about your evolution? we're here, we're evolving together, right?
Yeah.
Or are we?
Yeah.
Or are we evolving
because even if
separately and I don't know about your evolution.
Yeah, because even if that person did evolve, you've been right there in the trenches. So you would still expect that you would have noticed.
I want to know about your evolution every day. Look at your significant other. Hey, yo, how you evolved today? Yo, it's something different. How you evolving? What's going on? What are you thinking about today that you wasn't thinking about yesterday? Like, that's why that constant and open communicate. That's why I brought up this courage talk, because that constant communication is so necessary. So you don't end up at a point in time when you're looking at someone like, yo, who the fuck are you?
Right.
What are you talking about? This isn't who I was dating all them years ago. Yeah, well, you also haven't been asking me who I have been becoming for all of these years. So yeah, it's definitely varietal reasons as to why people end up in these situations. Yeah, I feel that. All right, we can move on from our relationship talk.
I'm going to talk about somebody that me and you both like, and me and you both probably have some slight issues with. Someone that has evolved over time, and the reason I'm going to bring it up is because I was watching something that this artist had done that just took me back to a nostalgic place. You know, I love nostalgia. Took me back to a nostalgic place where I was just like, wow, this person has changed so much. The music has changed. A lot of things about this person have changed. I don't know if you've ever watched this, but I was watching the 2011 Kanye West Coachella performance.
I don't know if I saw that.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of videos. Maybe. In
2011, I wasn't, I'm still not like Coachella, you know what I'm saying? I'm not like, the first performance I ever watched was the Beyonce performance, which happened like a year or 2 ago.
2011. So that was 2 years after, or 3 years after graduation, I believe. So that would have been, My Beautiful
Dark Twisted Fantasy was his latest album at that point, and it had won Album of the Year. At that point as well.
Album is
and
hard.
Kanye West was the biggest artist in the fucking world at that time.
Yeah.
I was watching the performance, and like it's the 10-year anniversary had just come up. And Complex put out an article about the performance, how it just changed the game for Coachella, it changed the game for Kanye West, it changed the game for performances in general.
Wow.
And I was watching it, man. It was just so masterful. Like, it was just, if you want to see a nigga put on a show, that was something that you had to be there. Yeah. You had to be there. It was genius. Like, just the artistry and just like, he was able to perform hits from 5 different albums that he had put out. It was amazing. Yeah. Besides the Beyonce Coachella performance and that, I mean, I'd never seen anyone put on a show like that. You know what I'm saying? It was great.
This nigga is feeling this.
I know. No, I was feeling it. I was feeling it. I felt the energy running through me. It was like when we sat there that one day and watched them perform Niggas in Paris. In Paris, we watched that shit like 5 times.
And they played it like 10 times.
Yeah. We watched that shit like 5 times. Me and you sitting in 202. Yeah. And we both just felt that energy. Like, Kanye was up there. He was on God mode up there. Yes. Like, it was crazy. But the reason,
hard to be humble when you stunting on a Jumbotron.
I'm trying to tell you that's a bar, because he's absolutely right. And I know a lot of people feel a certain way about Kanye, and what he's done over time, especially more recently. And I'm not going to sit here and act like he ain't said some wild shit that I don't totally agree with, because he has. Yes. I'm not here to defend him, but I think this goes back to when I said kind of, let's normalize just switching up on people. Yes. And I don't necessarily say that for the benefit of the person, but more so to acknowledge that people do change. Okay. I want to take the word change out of that. Kanye West has evolved in so many ways over time, in his music, The way he puts himself out there to the world. I mean, he's done so many great things and he said so many really dumb things that I feel like he probably should have just kept in his back pocket.
So you would say that it's fair to say that he has evolved in certain aspects and devolved in others?
You could say that. You could also say that maybe he's evolved for the better, or maybe he's evolved for not better. I think that, you know, it'll be a different perspective just depending on who you ask. But what I want to get to is we've had a couple of, you know, we've had DMX pass away on us recently. We've had, I don't know if you heard about Black Rob. He passed away like last week.
I didn't know that.
People are just, you know, the people we consider legends are just, they're starting to die off.
Yeah.
And I'm really wondering, what do you think about that? Is there somebody out there that you feel like would impact you in a certain way if they left this earth right now? I know that you probably don't hold too many celebrities dear to your heart.
Yeah.
But if you could name someone out there right now that if they died today, you'd be like you just, I'm not going to say distraught, but you know what their impact, like what their impact was to the world or maybe to you personally, anybody.
That's an interesting question to ask. One, because do you know how Black Rob transitioned? How he died?
I think he had like something was going on with his liver or something like that.
Okay. So those were health complications.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it was something to do with one of his organs failing.
Yeah. A lot of these people that we know of, you're speaking about, you're bringing up a lot of hip hop.
It could be anybody.
Right. But in that vein, I do want to say, just like people closer to us, it's a lot easier to say goodbye and let people go when it's something that's been noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that it's been a steady progression, or regression, and however you would like to look at it. People are being shot dead in the street a lot in hip hop. And that's its own conversation of what is it that we're going to continue to champion in hip hop. We're just going to keep bumping our heads and being like, oh, this shit is hot, while they're running around talking about the people that they're shooting and the people that we're killing as they continue to go out and shoot and kill people. There are people that are bigging up, like I talked about Breakfast Club, denouncing Carl Hart and his ideas of destigmatizing drugs and reformatting the way that we look at it, but yet they play mad hip hop music, especially in this day and age where it's a huge pill epidemic thing going on inside of hip hop and, you know, other spaces. So when I hear about people dying, you know, of certain deaths, there's clearly a space for compassion there, because they're going through something. It's a deep psychological illness that is taking place, and so there's something to say about that. That's a whole conversation in itself. The people that I would probably feel that way about, unless there are health complications, as you said, maybe Black Rob went through health complications that they're hiding from us, maybe like a Chadwick Boseman, right? I think I would know that it's coming if I follow them like that. I think I would know it's coming, which would make it much easier at that point. And it wouldn't be so sudden and so you know, heartbreaking when it took place. But you're making me bring him up again, Jordan B. Peterson.
Okay.
He has dealt with a lot of illness and still is at this point for the past few years. And I feel that way about him because of how noble he is.
Okay.
He was just a college professor for many years. He was a clinical psychologist and a college professor for many, many years. And he put himself out here in the public stratosphere and started speaking about very controversial things, but started speaking about them in such a well thought out way. People didn't even know that you could think like that.
Mm-hmm.
People didn't even know that you could really rationalize and deeply investigate and excavate a lot of these contentious issues that people speak on today, but really don't have any real way of orienting themselves enough to speak about it, clarifying their heads, like I talked about before, having that clear-headedness, that will, that skill all together, that trifecta that's needed to be able to, and just all of his years of experience in psychology and all this, to be able to definitively speak on things in such a way that lay people can understand and really grasp and find hope and wisdom in and knowledge. And it's a beautiful thing what he does, what he has been doing, what he's continuing to do, despite the illness that he's going through, because he is feeling it. He talks about it on the podcast that he's running right now, about how every morning is just a fight. He deals with the autoimmune disease, and he gets up every day and it's excruciating pain for him every single day. And he's got to try his best to wash himself and dress himself. And he walks 10 miles a day just to get his body and his mind moving. And then by noon, he's then able to start writing again and conducting interviews on his YouTube page. And he, time and time again, has been struck by these salacious pieces that journalists put out trying to slander his name and call him alt-right, neo-Nazi, all this just wild stuff. And if you knew about him, if you read his work, if you watched him and listened, it couldn't be further from, it's ridiculous.
I really hate hot takes.
And that's going to go on to something I want to talk about, a little bit later, but
though they can be entertaining and do make me laugh
and make you laugh, it can also kill someone.
Yeah, hot takes they need to be abolished.
Yeah, they need to be abolished. Yeah, because you're throwing stones at someone that's trying his best and doesn't have to. That's trying his best to make the world a better place. Mm-hmm. And he just catches arrows from the left and the right. And he continues to do it because he feels this is the burden that he has put on his shoulders. This is the responsibility that he decided he was going to bear for the greater good of people. Mm-hmm. And he's still doing it. He's still having some of the most contentious and possibly inflammatory sort of conversation, some of the most taboo conversation that's going on today. But he does it. It's stuff about extremism on the left and the right politically, where people have to come together, race, transgender issues, economics, the burden that people need to bear but won't because of the lack of courage and incitement, incentivization, just within our culture. And he's just still doing it. And I feel like because he has said that he for a long time felt like every morning I could die today.
Ooh.
Like I'm feeling like today I might die. Mm-hmm. But he just kept going, mm-hmm. and he's still doing it. If I heard that he passed today, yeah, I would shed some tears. Mm-hmm. I would certainly shed some tears.
It's a crazy mind state to be in, to just come to terms with your mortality. Like just coming to terms with I'm dying and I'm okay with that. Like, how do you wrap your mind around something like that? Just your existence is coming to an end physically. How do you wrap your mind around that?
Well, he speaks about doing what's meaningful in life, finding what's meaningful. And if you're constantly doing those things, then you have found meaning in your life. I think that everybody should go and find the book Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor E. Frankl, I believe it is. I think I talked to you about him a long time ago. It was a psychiatrist, I believe, that was put inside of Auschwitz Nazi death camp, and his accounts of that place and what it took to continue to move forward. Yeah. And when you read something like that, and how people in that sort of situation, it's the lowest of lows, can find meaning and can find the desire and the will to continue and the courage to continue to move on and live. You start looking around at your life and you're like, man, I better fucking do something. Like, I better get up and do something. This dude was at a Nazi death camp and he recorded all these things, wrote a book afterwards, and it's a classic. Yeah. I should probably get up out of my bed. I should probably do something. I should probably figure out my life that I think is so sad.
Yeah. I know someone personally who's kind of going through some of that right now. Someone that had COVID, that survived, but someone that had COVID and, you know, waking up in the hospital, you know, kind of coming out of that slight coma that they were in, you know, being on the ventilator and stuff like that, waking up, wondering who people are and what's around you and what's going on, and just kind of sitting there, not able to do anything, not being able to have anyone around you, just kind of sitting there facing mortality, wondering, you know, is this the day? Am I going to get taken out of here? Yeah. And, you know, this person has explained these things to me and explained how they're going through it still. You know, that fucking noise is crazy.
Oh yeah, it's fine. We don't get all that out of here.
But I talked to this person a lot about it and about how, you know, they still think about dying and wondering, you know, what could have happened to them. Just being in that space is a crazy space to be in, you know?
That is interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. I'd like to go on to something else here if we can make a little pivot.
Sure.
Last pod, at the very beginning, I spoke about a blind spot that I felt that I had in my mind socially. Yeah. About women with hair. Yeah. Specifically in their armpits. How it made me feel, how I felt like I shouldn't be affected by it, socially, how that's been constructed. And you responded and said, well, you know, that was a man. You know that a man came up with that. You know that that's why they're there, because we live in a male-dominated society, which I'm not 100% on board with. Okay. But I told you that I was going to do some research and come back.
Okay.
So I did. And it's definitely some interesting stuff.
Okay.
So let's see here. Where would I like to start? The market for female hair removal products. Men had been shaving at barbershops and later at home when a men's disposal safety razor was introduced for home use in 1903. Quickly successful, Gillette. They've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, they've been around forever.
They've been doing it for a long time. It's them. They've been on the top the whole time. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, early 20th century. Gillette sold 90,000 razor sets the next year. A female market for hair removal products, on the other hand, did not yet exist in the United States. That market had to be created. According to Hansen, a researcher on the topic, the practice of removing hair from the underarms and legs was practically unheard of. She goes on, in fact, hair removal was such a novel concept when it was first introduced that companies had to persuade women of the benefits of hair removal, which I haven't really been able to find. I don't know too much benefits. And demonstrate how to practice it. They talk about it, you know, you don't sweat as much, like you said, and but if you do have hair, it sort of stops skin on skin contact, like chafing, you know.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's stuff on both sides, but it don't seem like it's that huge of a deal whether you have it or you don't, to be honest.
I mean, there's plenty of women out here surviving with underarm hair. So.
And like they're not really dealing with much.
But then again, we've come a long way. I'm sure there's ways to combat any sort of issues that that underarm hair may bring on.
That may bring on. Well, okay. Well, what underarm hair do you think that you're saying as far as like antiperspirants and things like that?
Yeah, certain things like that. Or even if there was, I'm sure there's plenty of creams now for any type of skin chafing. Because you have to imagine women that are shaving their underarm hair are also putting some sort of moisturizer on there as well.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Because as far as the hair being there, it holds more sweat, and then socially maybe you don't want to have a bunch of sweat marks on your t-shirt and things like that.
Yeah.
But as far as like health goes, you're not really taking any risks.
Right.
You're like having hair there or not having hair there. It's not really that big of a risk either way.
Right.
Like nothing's you're not gonna have to go to the hospital for anything, as far as I could find out. So all of this is really just social construction of what looks a certain way.
Yeah.
Right. So the first razor marketed as specifically to women came to the market in 1915 from Gillette. From then to the 1930s, Gillette and dozens of other hair removal companies used the changes in women's clothing fashions as justification for the sudden need to remove underarm hair and later leg hair. Rise of women's magazines had a lot to do with this. In 1883, the Delineator was first published. Then the Ladies' Home Journal came out. Women's Home Companion, Good Housekeeping came out. McCall's and Pictorial Review. The publisher of the Ladies' Home Journal, Cyrus Curtis, told advertisers that the purpose of the magazine was to give manufacturers a way to market their products to women, not for the benefit of American women. The goal of advertisers was not to only fulfill women's needs, it was to create new ones. The amount of advertising for toiletries and beauty services were second only to advertisements for food. Estimated advertising spends between 1890 and 1914 grew from 190 million to 682 million.
Wow.
So the whole point that I bring up is it's because when you said it the way that you said it last time, like I'm sure it was a man that did it in a male-dominated world. I think
could have been a little overzealous.
I think it was a little overzealous. I think that someone could have taken from that. A man put his foot down, was like, "You gonna shave? Like I want you to be smooth, so you gonna shave because that's what I like." And the reason I bring this up is not because you were like completely wrong in what you said, but I think that it's very important on the accusations that we put on people.
Right.
There are a lot of motherfuckers being accused of things these days that you don't necessarily agree with. And you're like, well, let's hold out for some evidence.
Right.
Right. So I think it's very important the way the accusations are put forth. And so America was trying to get more money. That's pretty much what it was. It wasn't like we need for women to look a certain way necessarily. It's if them looking that way is going to line our pockets up, then that's what we're going to do. Yeah, let's go ahead and get them some razors and get them some hair removal stuff so we can go ahead and grow this business from a $190 million business to a $682 million business.
Right.
And that point matters to me. And I'm going to now draw a parallelism and show you why it matters to me. If you don't know, there's been a story roaming the Twitter sphere about this Army sergeant. Okay? This white Army sergeant.
Oh, hold on.
In his neighborhood that was pushing this black kid out, telling him, get out of this neighborhood. What are you doing here? Where do you live? And he said at the beginning, I forgot where this took place.
I have no idea.
I forgot where it took place, but a lot of people just look it up. White army sergeant pushes black kid. It's going to be the first thing that comes up. Okay. Now, when we were sent this video, you and I, I'm looking at it, and I see this white, big, bald-headed dude run up on this very small black kid, teenager, high teens, whatever the fuck. And he's telling him, what are you doing here? You're coming around, you're harassing the neighborhoods, you're harassing my neighbors. We're a very tightly knit neighborhood. We take care of each other. Where do you live? What are you doing here? Get out of here. Mm-hmm. And then he starts getting brolic with him. He starts screaming. The guy says something to his wife. The black guy says something to his wife. So then he sort of pushes him. He says, listen, I'm about to show you what I can do. Mm-hmm. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Now, afterwards, we're going to go back to that incident. But afterwards, we know that the very next day, well, one, he was accused and charged for assault.
Right.
Because he put his hands on that boy.
Yeah.
Okay. He went after him. He put his hands on him. You get assault for that, sir. You can't do that.
Right.
Right? Like, that's against the law. So he did that. Very next morning, mad black people out there on the lawn.
Hell yeah.
Screaming, no, don't hide there now. Come on out. We just want to talk. What's up?
We ain't gonna jump you.
A lot of people. But listen, I don't care. You could add 6 people outside of my house and they're saying that, calling me out. I'm not. What are you talking about? I don't trust that you're not gonna jump me. There are 200 of you on my lawn. Like, no, I don't trust that. I believe from what I've heard, he's had to move. He had to move his family. Like he no longer lives there. That's from what I understand. I'm not staying there. I'm out of here. Everyone in the world knows where I live now. Ooh. And y'all all just sitting out here. Like, how am I supposed to live my life without coming into contact with you guys? Right?
Yeah.
Then a while after that, there was a tweet, somebody we got it sent to us as well, that said, this is what's going on outside that Army sergeant's home. I love my people. And it looked like fucking Atlanta A&T out there with tubas and trumpets and fucking bass drums and shit, just playing all sorts of orchestral music in this neighborhood. And first thing is, bro, this is a lot of people's neighborhood. Like, this not just
That's
that.
True.
It's not just that guy's neighborhood.
Yeah.
So now everybody's got to pay for this. Come on, man. Like, relax. And so this is where the point I come from. You kind of already know because I said what I sort of had to say in the chat and then I got out. Mm-hmm. And I do that most of the time. Just so you know, when you don't hear from me in chats, that's a lot of what's going on. Either I don't care because it's something I just can't, I don't know nothing about it, something sports related. I can't get into it. Or it's a bunch of groupthink and everybody's just shitting on this thing and they're not thinking for themselves.
Well, a lot of times I just send stuff to both chats so that I know if you don't see the other one, you're gonna see one of these motherfuckers.
And sometimes I go on there right now and there's probably 47 missed messages on one of them. I promise you that. So I'm looking at this video and I found it interesting that I didn't see or hear anybody talking about this because I had some people at work come up to me and talk to me about this, white people, and didn't say anything about this part. Mm-hmm. And I think that this completely slipped under the radar. I don't know what's going on. The guy said, you're running around here harassing people. Where do you live? What are you doing? No one thought anything of that. Everyone loves a clickable narrative.
And I was just going to say, it's not on camera. So nobody knows, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Nobody knows what happened. For real.
Right.
All we know is what we saw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. So
I'm not saying
also,
that to
right.
I'm saying to I'm
very true.
Hoping to prove your point.
Very true. All you know is you're right. Is what we saw. So we can definitively say that we don't have nearly all the pieces to the puzzle.
Right.
But yet we calling out the image. Mm-hmm. And people love a narrative. White Army sergeant pushes black man. And of course, with the Derek Chauvin trial and all this sort of stuff going on, of course, people are going to cling to that and be like, he's pushing him out because he hates black people and they don't like black people in their neighborhood. Let's get him. How do we know that's the case? How do we know he wasn't just a white dude and that was a black dude? They just happened to be those colors and happened to be born in the families that they were born in that bore those skin colors. But that black dude was doing some fuck shit, walking around the neighborhood that he doesn't really belong in, doing some clout chasey stuff, could have been having his phone out trying to film something, trying to do something stupid because we know that people do that. How do we know that that wasn't the case? And I said this before to you guys. If I'm walking down the street and somebody walks up to me and accuses me of doing something that I know I had no part in, you walk around, you harassing people. As soon as someone says that to me, do you know the look of confusion that's gonna come on my face? Do you know how I'm gonna respond? I'm gonna be like that. Wait, what do you? I'm harassed. Wait, who are you? What are you talking about? Who are the people? Like, let's get down to this. Like, what's going on? Maybe we should go catch this guy. Like, we should band together. Who the fuck is harassing people around here? I don't know what you're talking about.
I read somewhere that he has some sort of mental issue.
Yes, and that they were going to try to get
there's a lot of things going on.
There's a lot of questions, exactly. But we're not talking about any of these things. We can talk about these things, but no one is. You just got a fucking band, a whole marching band, walking down the streets.
The marching band thing was completely ridiculous.
Well, so is the first response, which is everyone coming out there. Someone tweeted, by the way, that, and I don't know who this person was, but it was something, and they got mad retweets, but it was something along the lines of, this is the sort of social backlash that should come with heinous aggression like this. Why, though? He, just like the Gillette thing, just like putting the blame on men for women feeling as though the markets, the corporations feeling like they need to make women, or they want to sell more products, so we need to put in women's minds that they would look more elegant and desirable if they shaved themselves. We need to put the blame exactly where it lies. It's not because we just want to oppress women. It's because we want to make more money. And that's a difference.
Yeah.
Both can be wrong. That's a separate conversation. But we need to delineate exactly where the issue lies in order to have, again, the clear-headedness to discern exactly what the problem is, so then we can truly articulate and figure it out. If you think that the problem's just kind of over here, then you're attacking a bunch of things that don't have to be attacked. When you could just shoot one bullet, you taking an AK and shooting a whole lot of bullets that don't need to be used. And that's the point here. He got charged for assault, like he should have been charged, because you can't do what he did.
Right.
The law took care of that. He got charged for assault.
Right.
And I'm certain that went back to his commanding officer and all of that, and however they take care of it, they take care of it. But why are we saying that now he has to deal with, him and his family and everybody else in the neighborhood has to deal with 500 people showing up on his lawn? Who says that that's okay? Why should that be the social norm now? That's ridiculous. We have to look at that and say that that's ridiculous. Go home to your families. You could better spend your time being with your families. Go home to your children and spend time with them. This was taken care of. It's not one of those instances where somebody did something and the law didn't decide to step in, so then street justice felt as though they had to come and do the work. He got charged.
Do you think those instances are justified?
What?
When the street effort has to come in because the law didn't take care of it?
Not necessarily, but there's a conversation to be had about that. But it certainly is not the case if it was taken care of. I know that for sure. It doesn't need to happen. So I just felt like we don't have this, and I don't know if more of the story has come out or whatever case. Probably not, because again, that's all that was on camera. We probably won't know.
Right.
But I just felt it's so interesting. People are just so willing, and I understand that the hate that's going on today, and I understand the motives that people are working with, but we have to do better. We have to crank it back. we have to dial it down a bit because that's just not necessary, especially when you don't know all the information. The information is not in, but we just out here terrorizing. It's completely ridiculous. And so that's where I stand with that. I don't know if this guy was completely racist and ridiculous and out of his mind. And I don't know if the black dude was actually running around and terrorizing people or whatever the case may be. But again, when he was asked about it, he didn't seem very confused as to why the guy was coming and talking about it. He just said, hey, man, listen, I'm not bothering anybody. I'm just trying to walk. It's a very interesting way to respond to that accusation in real time.
Because
so it's a little iffy for me.
I can certainly speak for myself in this situation. Somebody comes up to me and starts saying, I did this, I did that. I'm going to refute. If I had nothing to do with it, I'm certainly going to refute whatever it is that person is saying.
That's all. I'm just trying to use some deductible skills here.
I agree with you on that part. At the end of the day, we don't know the entire story.
No.
And like you said, we probably never will. It's interesting though, because like if he did do any sort of harassment, I mean, I guess maybe it's not on film, but I'm wondering, has anyone complained about him? Like, has anyone filed a report? You know what I'm saying? Like what if he was doing anything? What was he doing? I'm curious.
Me too. Me too. I'd love to know all of these answers, but I certainly know that if I lived in that neighborhood, until I had the answers, I'm certainly not going to just full speed ahead run to this guy's house and start acting as if I do know the answers. I know I wouldn't do that.
The bald white guy ran full speed ahead at the black kid. Did he know everything, or did he just hear what someone else said?
Well, if the people, that's what we don't know. That's the whole point. We don't know. If he saw it happening, if multiple people are like, yo, this dude's running around here and whatever the fuck screaming at us. That's what I'm curious about.
If all these people saw this black kid doing this, like, I'm really curious, like, where's that part of the story? Like, why is that not as important? Is it simply?
And you know what? That's a great question, Keon. Why is it that we don't ever hear about any of the? Every time you hear about somebody getting pulled over or shot or taken out of their car and stomped on, what color are they?
Black.
Every single time. Mm-hmm. Do you think that that's always the case? Do you think that there are not a bunch of white people being shot or be on or taken out or whatever the case is? Do you not think that they're going through it at all?
No, I'm certain that the same things are happening.
Why don't you see it? Why is that part of the story left out? Why don't you hear about that?
About the white people?
Because every single day you hear something happening to a black dude.
It's hot.
But you don't think that no white people in this nation are going through any of these things? You don't think they're being killed? No, you just don't know their names. Yeah. You just don't know that story.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not happening. You just don't know that story. So you have to start asking yourself these questions. Why don't I know this part of the story?
Would you be now? You probably won't answer this question without doing the research, but probably. I've definitely read that it's more likely to happen to black people, these types of situations.
Yeah. I've heard about this too. And why is that the case?
Well, I guess systemic racism.
Because they don't like, we can't see.
But that doesn't, I mean, I don't have the facts, but
people are going to go, that conversation is going to go into, it's because the places where black people live are highly policed. They're more heavily policed than other places are. So of course you're going to catch more black people doing more crimes if they're being more heavily policed than the white people. And it goes on and so forth from there. So it's an interesting thing when people get into statistics, because depending upon where you at, statistics, they rise, they fall. I've tried to do the research. It's a lot going on out there. All I'm saying is that you never hear. You don't know. You can probably off the top of your head at least come up with 4 or 5 black names of people that have been killed but you can't come up with one white. Not one.
Nigga, I said this maybe the last pod, a couple pods ago. Black trauma is hot right now.
Yeah.
Like, they want that shit on the front page everywhere because it's hot. It's going to get them clicks. It's
a misinformation age. We know by now. You talked about tech totalitarianism. Mm-hmm. It's an age where they want us on our phones as much as possible. That's how we're the product. And they're selling the information, right? The data to the markets. That's how they keep us on our phones for as long as possible. Mm. Make it hot. Make it hot. Whatever they click on. People don't want to click on things that just kind of make sense and are well thought out and this and that. They want what's hot. They want what's clickable. Clickbait is a thing for a reason. Mm. Everyone knows this term, but they don't take it into account when they're clicking around for some reason.
Right.
It's what's hot. And we know now that misinformation travels 6 times faster than truth because people are they're there to click it. And the tech companies, they with it. They are with it. Mm-hmm. It's all money. It's all about money and keeping our attention and grasping it. Captology, read about it. Read all about it. That's what it's about. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying people aren't going through stuff. I'm not saying that they're not terrible injustices going on. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's going on in some other places too, and we don't know nothing about it. Mm. And it's interesting. And we have to start asking ourselves why we don't know that part of the story. That's all I'm saying. I just want some people to just try to think a little bit outside the box.
This whole thing could be some fucking ploy to further traumatize us as Black people. Well, you know what I'm saying? This whole thing could just be some psychological thing that they're pushing right now just to put the Black trauma back in our minds.
Very, very, very interesting. How do you control people? By tapping into their fears. Mm-hmm. Just think about it. Yeah. Just think about it.
Mm-hmm. You hear about this volcano erupting in St. Vincent?
No.
So a volcano erupted in St. Vincent. It's an island, I think, down somewhere in the Caribbean near like Barbados and Aruba and all that shit down there somewhere. This story isn't even about the volcano and how it's ravaged through the island. It's about the choices that this government had to make. They've got these cruise ships coming to pick people up to save them and take them from the island because there's just too much going on there. Everything's covered in ash. Things are burning down. However, you can only get on the cruise ship if you're vaccinated. And it really made me wonder, well, what the hell are the people that aren't vaccinated going to do? I read through 3 articles. Nobody said anything about what the people who aren't vaccinated going to do. I have to assume that there's some safe place on the island where the lava won't get to. I have to assume that because they're not just going to let these people die. Hopefully.
Well, what's the point of the ships?
To evacuate people.
Okay. So there ain't no point in the ships if there's somewhere everybody can just go and hang out and hide.
It just makes it even crazier.
Yes, it does.
What are the people who just got vaccinated and don't have their full dosage aren't allowed on the ship? You have to be vaccinated and have been that way. I don't know what amount of time. But I want to ask you this as someone who I believe may not get the vaccination. I don't know how exactly you feel about it. I don't know if your mind's going to change on it. I know that you've expressed to me that you don't think you're going to get it because you're going to allow your body to just do its thing. And that's fine. But I'm wondering, what do you think it's going to affect you at all in the future? Do you think it's going to stop you from doing anything? Or do you think there's going to be a halt? You're not vaccinated. You can't do this certain thing. And if that does happen, I don't know. What do you think? What are you going to do?
I don't know exactly.
I've heard that they're already putting stipulations on travel, in certain countries. Like you can't come here if you're not vaccinated, or you can't go, you can't go there if you're not vaccinated. And I'm certain that's going to expand to other things.
Yeah.
So I can't be quite specific, but generalizing.
Yeah.
what do you do if that, stops you from doing something that you want to do?
Well, I think I've spoken about it. At this point, it sort of comes down to, we have spoken about integrity before.
Mm-hmm.
Doing something and sticking to certain morals, ethic, strong convictions in the face of adversity,
mm-hmm.
and not just when it's convenient for you. This is just one of those things that for me, I'm willing to make sacrifices. I'm completely willing to say, that's the case, huh? Well, guess what? I've never, ever in my life wanted to be somewhere that I wasn't wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Never in my life.
Okay.
Like, okay, that's I don't have to be here.
Okay.
I'm completely fine with that.
Okay.
So many complications with these things. So many things. So many just weird articles of people getting injected with the wrong thing at certain places. They're just mix-ups. They're just putting other medicines in people that ain't the coronavirus, that ain't that isn't the vaccination. Vaccinated people getting blood clots, even though I know it's a very low percentage. Stuff being recalled.
Well, just to clarify, you're not anti-vaccine. Are you one of those types of people? Like
one of those types. It's just like vaccines are bad for you.
Yeah, like I don't want none of that shit. I don't want my kids to have none of that shit.
I don't think that I'm and that's interesting that you said you probably won't answer this without doing more research. It was at the I don't believe, or nor would I proclaim to have the sort of medical prowess that would probably truly be needed from a reasonable person's aspect to say, or a reasonable person's standpoint to say that they are just inherently bad, no matter which one it is for any given person at any stage of life. I mean, I couldn't make that claim. So no, I wouldn't say that. No,
okay.
No, I wouldn't say that I'm just anti-vaccination, but I am a skeptic.
Okay.
I certainly am a skeptic of things.
Okay.
And and I have no issue saying that. Skeptic used to be a good term. Skeptic used to just mean that you waited to see.
Mm-hmm.
You just waited to the information was in, to the results were in. You wanted to take your time with analyzing all the information being processed and presented to you. Now it just means that you're a hater and you don't believe in shit. That's not the case with me. I mean the skeptic in the fact that I like to look around. I like to look around and see what's going on and see side effects, see long-term effects. Also, because I was in yoga the other day and all the ladies came in, and when we were just kind of stretching out, getting ready for it to begin, I'm listening to the conversation. And one of the ladies is asking the yoga instructor, "Hey, have you gotten your vaccination yet?" She, "Oh no, not quite yet. I'm looking. It pops up every now and again, like little places you can get them. So I'm looking to see where I can go, but I'm not first in line for some reason. Whatever my standing is in society, I'm not first in line to be able to get them. Like they're getting other people out of the way first." And she's like, "Yeah, but I think I'm gonna go get this one. It may have been the Johnson & Johnson. I'm not sure." And then one was like, "Oh no, you don't want to get that one. That one will give you blood clots." And then the other one was like, "Yeah, but you don't want to get this one either, because I heard that this one messes with your infertility. You're not gonna be able to have no more children." And I was like, "Oh yeah, the one you want to get is this one." I'm like, are y'all listening to this conversation? Are you listening to yourselves? Like, there's just so much uncertainty. Don't nobody know nothing about nothing.
Uh-huh.
Y'all just running around and getting syringes stuck in you and being like, just let's hope for the best. I'm not with that. Now, that's not saying that I'm not being a little bit more, I believe, homeopathic with it. I take great care of myself. Mm-hmm. What's funny is people don't ever like take that into account. Because there is going to be, and there already is, this division in people where either you're one of the noble, honorable people that's doing their civil duty by going and getting it, or you're a disgusting infidel.
Yeah,
that should be struck down by Zeus right now.
I've definitely thought about, when I was thinking about this topic and bringing it here, I definitely thought about the fact that this whole vaccination thing is going to create different levels of hierarchy. It's going to, people are going to start pointing fingers and telling you that you're this, you're that,
the problem,
and
you're a super spreader.
Yep,
you're a contagion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should be quarantined forever.
It's coming. It's definitely coming.
Yeah. So I find that really interesting, but at the same time, again, no one's ever thinking about. There have been plenty of people, many scientists in the nutrition field that have talked about things that you can do to stave off not just coronavirus, but just viruses and diseases and things in general, which is like vitamin D intake. Vitamin D intake was a huge one. Exercise was another one. And these things I definitely do. And I feel great every day. So I understand what you're saying. As far as it becoming one of those things where you just can't do what you want to do because of it, that'll be an interesting sort of state of affairs to be in. Mm-hmm. But I do know that they're already issuing paperwork for people to fill out in case maybe their job or some entity is telling them you can't be here without it, which goes with like religion and a bunch of other sort of explanations that you're allowed to have that'll grant you access to some of these things that you're talking about. So, I'll get one of these little forms and figure it out.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's that. I don't necessarily feel bad about it.
Yeah. No. I thought of you when I was reading the story, and I'm just like, wow, they're only letting vaccinated people on here. Everybody else just got to find a safe place to hide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. and again, this is for anyone listening. This is not to say that there couldn't be something, because I try to keep myself teachable and keep my mind pliable. If some information comes to me and it convinces me, and I would definitely allow that. I would definitely sit down, have any conversation with anyone, or read anything that truly gets me to that point. But it hasn't happened yet. I'm still very skeptical of what's going on out there. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So that's how I feel about that.
You ready for this
card? Oh, wait, what you talking about?
I was about to ask if you're ready for this pandemic to be over.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I haven't really been too constrained. Like, I do the things that I want to do.
Yeah, I get that. I wasn't thinking that you weren't out here just living your life and enjoying yourself.
Yeah, I'm enjoying myself.
But it's just, I don't know. It's really interesting just after everything we've been through to start seeing things start to open back up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and all the people being killed.
Hold on. What?
That's a huge part of the pandemic ending, quote unquote, as you said, is people are coming back outside. And I want to say, like, these last weekend, there were like 5 or 6 mass shootings that took place across the nation.
Yeah.
So, am I ready? I know people want to get out here and party and all that, but there's some other things that come with that. I've told you about the ripple effects, the psychological ripple effects that we're going to be seeing, because now everyone's outside. And a lot of people dealt with a lot of trauma and mental deterioration in 2020, and we seeing it. We are seeing it.
Yeah.
So I mean, kinda, but it's the wild, wild west out here.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going crazy.
Yeah, I feel it.
So that's that. But we can get to this card. We can go ahead and knock this out. Our Meaningfulness Card of the week. What makes you lose track of time?
My answer for this is going to be really cliche.
Okay, that's fine. Knock this out real quick.
My answer to this is going to be really cliche. I will say this. The person that said time flies when you're having fun, that was a banger. That was a bar. Because when I think of what makes me lose track of time, I think of doing something that I enjoy.
Yes.
Because I'm not, like, who's paying attention to the time when you're having fun or doing something that you want to do?
Yes.
Vice versa, when you're doing something you don't want to do, I constantly look at the clock because I'm just like, like, damn, what is this shit? Like, this shit need to hurry up.
All right. So I'm going to challenge you and just ask you, give me one of those many things that isn't fishing that you have fun doing that makes you lose track of time. Just anything specific that you have fun doing.
This
watching fishing videos, nigga. Really? You really enjoy just watching people fish?
Absolutely. I watch them every day.
They chop them down to the clips of them catching stuff, or is it just them sitting there?
Sometimes some videos are live streams. I just watch.
Oh, and you sit there and watch and just wait.
People just talking, just waiting for that rod takedown. Yeah, that's the excitement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Watching videos of people fish. I'll take it.
Hiking. When I'm out hiking, the last thing I'm looking at is the fucking time.
Yeah, that's weird. That's a weird thing to do.
I'm trying my best to make sure that I'm not gonna die, and I'm also trying my best to get to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to do, to just be hiking and just be worried about what time is it? Like it doesn't exist out there really, unless you're trying to beat the sun.
Are you challenging what I'm saying, or like what do you like?
No.
Okay, I'm just making sure because I know that you have to understand that when you're doing something that you're enjoying, you're certainly not looking at the clock.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Mine is clearly, but I think the people that wrote this, they know that. Like they know.
I know.
That's
why I said it was going to be cliche.
Right,
I really couldn't come up with anything philosophical.
So I mean, I don't know. Mine is having open, honest discourse with people. That's something that makes me lose track of time. When I find myself talking to someone where the common objective is understanding and growth, because those are rare. People think that they have those, but it's actually quite rare. People a lot of the times are, again, trying to be the messenger. They want to come and preach to you the good word, whatever that may be. They want to come tell you what it is they know about something or how it is you should feel about something. And they're very rarely just there to share and listen and understand and grow. And yeah, it's never really that. It's funny because that book I talked about that I got last week by Peter Boghossian, I believe is his name. I may be butchering that. And James Lindsay, How to Have Impossible Conversations. It's such a great book. Oh my gosh. Oh, I read that book in like 5 days. Easy. Oh my gosh. It was and then I'm already started on this Beyond Order book. It is such a good book. I believe that everyone should go read that book, especially today. People have to read that book and open their minds to having conversation with people that they see as their adversaries. The reason I brought this up is because they make very pointed remarks on the way that you ought to look at who you're having a conversation with. Mm-hmm. And if you can frame it, a lot of the things I've talked about, perception and how strong that is, how it's everything, right? And if you can shift that, it can mean the world to you. In framing who you're talking to in any given moment as my conversational partner, drastically changes the way you're going to go about it, because they're no longer your opponent. They're not your adversary. They're not your enemy. They're not the other. They're not some stupid, demonized, caricatured person on the other side. Mm-hmm. They're your conversational partner. Mm-hmm. We're working together in this to accomplish a common goal. And when you do run into those people that can have those sorts of conversations, it's amazing. It's magical because it is rare. A lot of people don't do that. So it's rare, and I love having those conversations.
Do you know the 4 behavioral styles?
4 like agreeableness, openness, neuroticism. Well, those are personality attribute, personality traits.
Yeah, well, I learned this in one of my classes.
Okay.
Decisive, inquisitive, rational, and expressive. What do you think? Which one do you think is yours?
You can only have one? I feel like it's got to be a sort of diagram where you
could say that, but if you had to narrow one down.
If I had to, okay, one more time. You guys, inquisitiveness,
decisive, inquisitive, rational, and expressive.
Oh my gosh. everyone that listens to this podcast, you included, asking me to know that this is going to be so difficult for me.
Are you just think you're all of these?
Decisive would probably be the lowest because my mind is so malleable. I'm always willing to allow something to come in to sort of change the perception of what ought to be decided upon and how it ought to be decided. But expressiveness, okay.
So originally when I was reading
rational, and then what was the other one you just said? Inquisitive. Jeez.
Originally when I was reading, I saw you as the expressive type, but as I read more, I was like, no, he's more of the inquisitive.
Okay.
Inquisitive behavioral style includes like kind of a no nonsense type of personality when it comes to other people. There's a bit of arrogance that comes with it.
You said a no nonsense.
Yeah, like no nonsense type of style when it comes to conversing or just being around other people.
Okay.
What did I just say after that?
You said arrogance.
There's a bit of arrogance that comes with the inquisitive style. And there's also, there's a bunch of things. I'm just naming some of the stuff I can remember. Someone that really gets deep into conversation and enjoys it as well. Those are three things that I remember from the, from the inquisitive style.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I when I was reading through that chapter, it made me think about you when I was reading the inquisitive part. Myself, more of a rational type of person, someone that tends to take a back seat, someone that generally does more listening than speaking. So yeah, I don't know. It just popped into my head.
Yeah, I'll have to. Maybe I'll read into those a little bit more and maybe come back with something.
I got a book for you that.
Okay.
That I could.
Yeah, maybe I'll read a little bit more.
There's a whole chapter on behavioral styles that you'd probably be interested in.
Yeah, I'm certain I would, especially now that you just called me arrogant.
Whatever.
I have to go back and look into those and see what's going on here. Wait a minute, can we define this? Because this has been way too many times. Hold on a second. What? We're gonna go into this. Arrogant, adjective. Making claims or pretensions to superior importance or rights, overbearingly assuming, insolently proud, characterized by or proceeding from arrogance or a sense of superiority, self-importance, or entitlement. Yeah, nah, I'm not rolling. I don't think that that's who I am. I think that different characteristics that I have with an untrained eye can come off that way. But I do not believe for the things that I say to come from a place of arrogance.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe so.
I don't necessarily think that the words that you use or the things that you say come from a place of arrogance. It's probably more so just, I guess, maybe just mannerisms, certain, a collective of things like you just said that, could make it seem that way. But like I said, there was a ton of other things in that little drop down for the inquisitive behavioral style that I do think fit your personality.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I'll do some more reading and catch up on that. Let's pull this next card, see what we got here next week's. We kind of answered this on the hike. It's what does this world need more of? And you took mine and said compassion. Yeah, because you knew I was going to say that. You took compassion, and I believe I said adventure. That people need more of a sense of adventure in their lives. And so we're going to skip that one. Right. We're going to go on to the next one. Yeah.
Should have been there on the hike. Sorry.
How do you show love to others? Have we spoken about our love languages before? Many times. We're gonna skip that one. We're gonna skip that one too. We're getting into the meaningful without these cards, which is a great thing. What challenge do you want to overcome? I feel like that may have been something else. We've talked about that too. We talked about because it was achievements and things like that in life. So we're done with that one too. All right, what do we got next? What moves you to tears or gives you goosebumps? We can use this.
Yeah.
What moves you to tears or gives you goosebumps? That one we can do something with. Yeah. That is our meaningfulness question of next week. Do you have any last words for the people, sir?
Last words for the people. Jesus. You know what? Usually I do have something, but today I don't have anything.
Okay, no last words.
Yeah.
Fuck the people. No, just joking. My last words for the people were probably something along the lines of, I feel like what touched me most here, even though so much of it did, would be the courage. This episode brought to all of us by courage.
I'll just back you up on that.
For sure.
Courage.
If you love yourself, you love your relationships with people, you love those people, you want the growth, you want to have the shared experiences that propagate growth between you and these people, then you have to have the courage to say something to them. You have to have the courage to have the conversations that are hard to have. Those are the ones that have to be had the most. And hopefully you believe that the person sitting across from you has your best interests at heart. And if that is in fact the case, then it'll be shown through the conversation. If they don't, that'll also be shown through the conversation, in which now you have a good, productive, and just forever clear representation or exhibition in front of you to help you understand what's going on. You have a actual metric that you can now use. You have something that's almost tangible. It's the closest thing to tangible that is intangible that you can now use to decipher whether or not you need to continue to be in whatever it is you are with that person. And so those are my last words.
I'll say this. Don't let confrontation hold you back from being a better person, because it's definitely held me back from being a better person in my past.
And you will regret it.
You will regret it.
That's it.
Avoid confrontation when you have to, not just because you don't want to have an argument or you're afraid of an argument.
Yes. All right. That's it.
Peace.